Good morning, sunshines. Happy Sunday, January 11th. I hope everybody woke up feeling good and thankful to be alive and ready to experience another day in the flesh. 11 days in a row now that we have come to read our Bible. Look at me. Big old hot mess, but I don't care. I got to sleep in a little bit longer today. All right, we're going to cover today Genesis 24:52 through 26:16. Then we're going over to Matthew 8:18 through 34. Our psalm is 10:1 through 15. And our Proverbs 3:7 through 8. It's just a small little proverb on that one. All right. Are we ready to start our day here? Our reading? We're turning to Genesis 24:52. And it says, when Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said, "Send me on my way to my master." But her brother and her mother replied, "Let the girl remain with us 10 days or so, then you may go." But he said to them, "Do not detain me, now that the Lord has granted success to my journey. Send me on my way so I may go to my master." Then they said, "Let's call the girl and ask her about it." So they called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" "I will go," she said. So they sent her sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies." Wow, well, there was a wonderful blessing. Well, actually, let's pause. I didn't pray. We didn't pray. Let's take a minute here. Now that Rebekah has been blessed, and say a few words. Dear Lord, thank you for making me wake up to face another day in the flesh, and may you help me through reading the Bible, understand you and myself better. I pray that you bring anybody that is interested in doing the same to join in on this journey. Maybe they can take away a deeper understanding themselves. Pray that this day is beautiful and glorious and of good health to me, my family, and anyone who is out there watching and seeking your wisdom. And I pray that as we're reading here, we truly do understand. And amen. Let's keep going. All right, now that Rebekah has been blessed, it says we're on Genesis 24:61. Then Rebekah and her maids got ready and mounted their camels and went back with the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac had come from Beer Laharoi, for he was living in the Negev. He went out to the field one evening to meditate, and he looked up. He saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?" "He is my master," the servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Oh, so it wasn't the case of just matching him up with someone that the servant thought was, marriable and, worthy of Abraham's love, Isaac's love. But how nice is it that it says that he loved her? So it wasn't just here you go, let's get this paired together, and you're gonna have this life that is gonna provide, all these children and such. But he does love her, and so I think that's nice. And he finds comfort in her. Abraham took another wife. Oh, wait a minute. Whose name was Keturah. She bore... Well, I'm glad he's getting his comfort. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shuah. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Ludishites, and the Leumites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Alright, I was laughing here thinking that Abraham and Isaac are the same people. Nope. Okay, so Abraham is not Isaac taking another wife. Isaac loves his wife, and Abraham is the one that took another wife. Okay. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. I know it's normal for the Bible, and it's normal in ancient cultures and even not so ancient cultures, but I don't think I will ever be comfortable with the idea of concubines, right? Obviously their goal here is to populate the earth and spread out, and I guess that makes sense. But of course, as a woman, and who I will never be comfortable with that whole concubine situation. But it is what it is in the Bible here, and it has its purpose, right? Altogether, Abraham lived 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer Lahai Roi. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. Okay. So I didn't realize that Sarah's maidservant Hagar was Egyptian. And that just serves a special interest of mine. I study Egyptian culture, so it's nice to know that that's where her lineage comes from. And okay, so this is the lineage of her children and Ishmael. listed in the order of their birthmark. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael. Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Masa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of their 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, as you go toward Ashur. And they lived in hostility toward all their brothers. Wasn't that nice? So all of Ishmael's descendants essentially settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, and they all lived in hostility toward all their brothers. Wow. So, now this is the account of Abraham's son, Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay, so Rebekah and Isaac have twins after being barren, and I think it's interesting to note that this is yet another time, and we're only 11 days into the Bible that we're talking about another woman being barren. I didn't realize that was relevant back then, or as common. I mean, we hear of people struggling and being barren today, this day and age, and we have procedures that people do to try and change that, but I didn't realize it was so common even back in these times. But what I want to talk about, I think, is even more interesting, is that the parents are taking favor over the children. I can't imagine being a mom favoring one child over the other, especially twins being born at the same time. That's an interesting take, but I do know that children often get along with or relate to parents better, but the way they said it here, it's like but Rebekah loved Jacob and Isaac loved Esau. So why are we not loving all our children here? Anyways, okay, moving on. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was called Edom. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Wow, so he sold his birthright for a meal. Now, where was a famine in the land besides the earlier famine of Abraham's time? Now there was a famine in the land besides the earlier famine of Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. For you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws." So that's a big promise that that God gives, giving all as many descendants as the stars in the sky. That's a common promise that he repeats, and it's a big one. And so Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." Because he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," he thought, "The men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful." Here we go again. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from the window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife? Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Then Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech gave orders to all the people, "Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Okay, I find it interesting that we've already destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, which was saying that, those cities were completely destroyed, full of horrible people, and they specifically referenced sex when the people were coming to the house, to Lot's house, and wanted to have sex with the angels. And that was, one of the main reasons they wanted to destroy the cities, is because all the people were rotten in that way. So I think it's interesting that it says anyone who molests this man or his wife, when it's the wife that he just said, "Hey, somebody could have slept with your wife and brought guilt upon us." It didn't say you or your wife. And at this point now we're saying anyone who molests this man or his wife. So does that mean that that kind of behavior that they were trying to abolish, is that still in existence? Just a little question that I popped up in my brain there. Is that still, after all of that, and so fresh from destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, you would think that the people around would not be participating in that kind of behavior. But maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe it just means just a normal woman flirting with him and being inappropriate. Maybe that's all it means. Anyway, so Abimelech is giving orders to, don't be messing around, don't be fooling around with Isaac or his wife. Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold, because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us." Okay, so they still feared, that by being honest, being husband and wife, that at this point in time that, Rebekah's beauty would cause them to just annihilate Isaac so that they could take Rebekah for their own. And that's what we saw, in previous generations. I think it's awful that they have to think like that, that they have to deceive them in order to say, hey, well, we did it because we didn't want you to kill us otherwise, when in the first place it shouldn't even exist, right? That the threat of being killed. Oh, it's just awful. It makes me appreciate as ridiculous as the institutions can be these days, it does make me appreciate that, we do have laws that protect marriages, and we don't have to worry about being nixed so somebody else can marry you, for the most part anyway. Okay, I'd like to go into Matthew 8:18. I'll give you a second here to look for that. Matthew 8:18. I see Miss Littell's on there. Good morning, Miss Littell. Thank you for joining me. We started with Old Testament. We're jumping into New Testament. And here we go. Matthew 8:18. When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross the other side of the lake. When a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go," Jesus replied, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead." Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Without warning, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." When he arrived at the other side in the region of the Gerasenes, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they shouted. "Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." So they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Those tending the pigs ran off, went into the town, and reported all this, including what had happened, to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. I'm going to reread this. I'm not digesting this part all the way here. So I'm going to go back to Matthew 8:28. So this is after the men were amazed by Jesus calming the waters and the winds. When they arrived at the other side in the region of the Gerasenes, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they shouted. Have you come here to torture us before this appointed time? Okay, so there's this violent, I'm imagining they've got weapons and they're probably overly muscular and angry and sweaty and gross and threatening, right? And they say, what do you want, with us, Son of God? Are you coming here to torture us? And some distance from them is a large herd of pigs feeding. And these men, filled with demons, begged Jesus, if you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs. So I'm saying, are they asking him to remove the demons from their bodies? Are they asking him to kill them? If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs. When I hear herd of pigs, I feel stomping and the pigs eating them, right? That's awful. I don't know if I'm interpreting that right. He said to them, go. So they came out and went into the pigs. Oh, okay. So the demons are now shifting from human to the pigs. He said to them, go. So they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Got it. Okay. So the demons have left these two men. They're in the herd of pigs that have now committed suicide in order to kill the demons that possessed them, which were possessing the two men. Okay. Those tending the pigs ran off, went into the town and reported all of this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. So they were all probably completely freaked out by the situation and didn't want anything to do with him and his powers. And it's out of fear, right? So they asked him to leave. Okay, so Matthew shows us just the power of Jesus, and he gets these guys on the boat with them, and they go out, and Jesus is like, woo, it's been a long day. I need to take a nap. And things become crazy on the ship, and the guys are scared that they're going to go down, but Jesus calms everything. And when they get to land, they see these demon-possessed men who actually beg to be saved. And Jesus makes it happen. He removes the demon right from their body and transfers it. And that, that's how, that backs up the whole energy never dies. It just shifts, right? And he shifted that demon energy from the men to the pigs and was able to get those pigs to kill themselves so that the demon would no longer possess anything. Very powerful. I remember this in reading it before, but it took me a minute to really comprehend sometimes the way the Bible is written, different versions of them. It doesn't sink in right away, and I have to reread things, so I apologize if that bothers anyone. I hope you understand. I'm just here to understand this as best I can. All right, let's transfer over to Psalms. This one is Psalm 10, 1 through 15. I'll give you a second if you want to look for that. Psalm 10, 1 through 15. Good morning, Jan. Good morning, Cindy. Nice to see you guys. Okay, we're going to begin our psalm. Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In his arrogance, the wicked man hunts down the weak, who are caught in the schemes he devises. He boasts of the cravings of his heart. He blesses the greedy and reviles the Lord. In his pride, the wicked does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. His ways are always prosperous. He is haughty, and your laws are far from him. He sneers at all of his enemies. He says to him, nothing will shake me. I'll always be happy and never have trouble. His mouth is full of curses and lies and threats. Trouble and evil are under his tongue. He lies in wait near the villages. From ambush he murders the innocent, watching in secret for his victims. He lies in wait like a lion in cover. He lies in wait to catch the helpless. He catches the helpless and drags them off in his net. His victims are crushed. They collapse. They fall under his strength. He says to himself, God has forgotten. He covers his face and never sees. Arise, Lord, lift up your hand. O God, do not forget the helpless. Why does the wicked man revile God? Why does he say to himself, he won't call to me account? But you, O God, do see trouble and grief. You consider it to take it in hand. The victim commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Call him to account for his wickedness, that would not be found out. Okay. So we're talking a little bit of, okay, there's a lot of people when you're struggling and you're facing dark challenges that you don't necessarily know how to handle. I think it's referencing in that first section, why do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? And in the first section here, in his arrogance, talking about living there is no room for God. The first beginning kind of reminds me of the first part of my life, where I'm trying to control everything and I'm trying to live the good way, but there's never that pause of, you think about the choices you make. You think about, if you go this way or you go that way, and you kind of think about the consequences of each. But unless you stop and think kind of like, what would Jesus do? So I found this bracelet, oddly enough. Nobody gave it to me. I just found it. What would Jesus do? Like, instead of just thinking, okay, if I choose option A, this will happen. If I choose option B, this will happen. But instead looking at it from a perspective, what would Jesus do? It's not just surveying what the consequences are. It's surveying what the best outcome for the whole situation is. Not just, okay, well, this is a good situation or this is a good situation. It's thinking about the whole. And I think that's what asking, what would Jesus do? What is best for the whole? Not your ego, not what is the best for you, like for me, running the household, what would be the best? No, it's not what would be best, the easiest way for me to run the household. It's what is the easiest for everybody to live in existence, right? And I think that's what the what would Jesus do questioning is about. And for so long, I didn't have that element in all my choices that I would make. It would just be what is best for me or what is best for this current situation. And I think sometimes when you do finally get to the point where you start asking for the Lord, for wisdom in the choices that you make, sometimes if we're not focused right, we're not going to hear him. We're not going to, he'll answer, but we don't quiet ourselves enough to listen. And oftentimes I think we look for the answer in specific ways instead of being more open to receiving in other ways instead of just a direct thought. Maybe it's you see a bird that flies across that reminds you of something that tells you, hey, I'm on the right path, right? For me, that's the red cardinal. I don't know why, but I feel like every time I'm in a challenging situation and I'm driving somewhere and I'm thinking the thoughts in my brain, whenever I happen to see a red cardinal, it always seems to be reinforcement that I'm going in the right direction and I'm doing the right thing. So, I don't know that the Lord is always hiding himself. Sometimes we're just not listening deep enough, right? All right. Let's move on to the last little section. Small, tiny little Proverbs, 3:7-8. I'll give you a second, but it is a very small proverb. Okay. Proverbs 3:7-8. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. I kind of think that line, do not be wise in your own eyes. I'm just talking about making decisions that are best for me and my current situation as the leader of the household, but do not be wise in my own eyes. Be, fear the Lord and shun the evil. I need to look at the bigger picture, and, there could be evil hiding that I don't even realize because I'm looking at it through my own perception, my own eyes. And that has been the truth. That's how people who live without the Lord, I'm imagining and I'm thinking in my experience, when they live without the Lord, the evil is all around, and it can be deceiving. You can think that it's innocent, and taking the time in your choices, to consider God, I think really helps mitigate that evil. So, all right, I feel like I've been rambling this morning. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed the psalm. I enjoyed Matthew. That was quite powerful to, see even more of Jesus's miracles and power. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. I don't know if you're going to go to your church or if you listen to sermons on the interweb, but may your day be blessed, and may your week be blessed, and I will see you again tomorrow, Monday, and it's a school day, so I'll be here at 5:30 as opposed to, is it 5:30? Yeah, I'll be here at 5:30 as opposed to sleeping in. So have a wonderful day. See ya.